So you basically manage business payments, business expenses
Yes.
on your platform.
Yes.
Where did you come across this problem first?
I used to work in this company called Pratik, and we realized that even a listed company or a very large company managing 500 crores of expenses a year is all on mails and all on ad hoc channels in general. That has been the pain.
Exactly what was that first product that would
Sure.
take us off email
Yeah.
and do expenses automatically?
It was not that clear.
Correct.
It was much more of a haze and maze to find that path.
Fair.
And what we figured out was the core business finance is 3 big buckets. And that is when we narrowed down, okay, this is the bucket we want to solve for.
So how did you get your first 10 customers?
So first of all, I'll tell you one thing, finance teams are hard to impress.
Yes.
Finance is one of those areas, either you're 100% or nothing. I cannot have a 90% ready MIS.
Right. If you had to go back to day zero, what is the one thing you would do differently?
I think, like I said,
Welcome to Zero to Momentum, where we chat with founders about their day zero, the day when they started the company, and the earliest things they did to move out of zero. Today, I'm joined by Pratik, the founder of Pazy. Pratik, thanks for being here. How are you?
I'm doing great.
So, what does Pazy do, first of all?
Sure, always happy to talk about Pazy. So with Pazy, what we're trying to solve for is businesses, the way businesses manage any kind of payouts. So like irrespective to as an individual, how we do payouts, let's be it on like Phone Pay, Google Pay, or etc. Business payouts are much more complex, much more trickier. Compliance get involved, you have to do your filings, regulations, accounting, and all those things. And we are trying to be the single platform where money moves. Healthier for the business, a very problematic thing for businesses to solve for, and that is what we are trying to do.
Okay, so you basically manage business payments, business expenses
Yes.
on your platform.
Yes.
How did this happen before Pazy? Like, why is this a big problem? How are businesses managing their payments?
So there's a lot of things to it. Let's say just take example of, let's say, as a business, be it, let's say, a coffee chain or sort, or be a manufacturing company or whatever. What happens is you have to do a lot of expenses, obviously, to run your
Correct.
business.
Yeah.
And there's a categorized into different things: vendor expenses, procurement, employee reimbursements, petty cash management.
Correct.
It's very spilled out across everything, and it all happens ad hoc, primarily over Excel sheets.
Yeah.
Or over emails. There's not had been a unifying platform of sort to solve for this. And
Correct.
that is what we solve. Like even a listed company or a very large company managing 500 crores of expenses a year
Yeah.
is all on mails and all on ad hoc channels in general. And that has been the pain. It's a cumbersome problem.
Makes sense. So I have a business. I may have, I don't know, 30 crores or like you said, 500 crores
Yeah.
of invoices, and the team is approving them on email and then
Yeah.
paying them through bank transfer or whatever. Where did you come across this problem first?
So the way it happened was I obviously I've been a product manager before this, and I used to work in this company called Pratik. They're
Yes.
into storytelling, and obviously you know Ranjit and all. So I was there for 3 years. Last of the 3 years I was there, I moved to the founder's office. I was working more closely with the CEO there. We got Series C, D done and all those things, and it got just closer to finance to me. Like
Yeah.
why the MISs are not ready, why it takes 15 days to understand what expenses we did last month and all. And we realized that a tech company sitting out of Komangla, Bangalore, the tech hub of the country, still has been managing all things ad hoc. So they have been using an ERP like Tally, but all ingestions, approvals, invoice processing and all was done manually over Excels or emails.
Yeah.
And that was like very easy to figure out okay, there's a problem and that can be solved and all. We took our time though to start and to figure out how to attack this problem.
Yeah.
But the first instant hit happened right there at my previous job.
Got it. So even the large companies are using Tally,
Yeah.
but all the expense flow is happening on Excel and email. You discovered this problem. So let's go to day zero. Was the problem validated at Pratilipi for you when you were working at Pratilipi, or like what did you do to say that I'm going to solve it. And did you guys have a clear picture of what that product or platform would look like to solve it?
So I'll take it in two ways.
Yeah.
One from product point of view, one from a business point of view.
Correct.
So from product point of view, it was an instant hit. We knew कि like this they like an old problem.
Sure.
It's nothing new of sorts. There's a lot of things that you can do. The tools there, and this is still like just AI or pre-AI era, I would say, not that agentic and all. But still, there's tools enough that you can just stitch together 2-3 platforms or tools and figure out a platform on top of it and all. But from business point of view, this is where we took time. So the product was easier. Maybe it was an instant hit.
So if I can interrupt you there, when you say stitch 2-3 things and the product was easier, exactly what was that first product that would take us off email and do expenses automatically? What was that first stitching together? Even if it was a very crude, V0, V.5, what was that?
So first of all, we took that as a whole problem. We understood as a finance, what does a business finance team does day to day. And what we figured out, there's controllers, there's CFOs. Then we realized what does a finance controller does. And then we realized also there are FinOps folks and all. What do they do? So primarily, before directly jumping into what we ended up being Pazy, it was not that clear. It was much more of a haze and maze to find that path. And what we figured out was the core business finance is 3 big buckets. One is anything money moving out. That's your payables. One is, let's say, money coming in. So let's say I'm a digital businesses, I will have my payment gateways. If I'm a digital plus omni-channel, I will have my payment gateways plus POS machines plus cash, and it goes on and on. And that whole chunk is called receivables. And then the third piece is called FPA, treasury and all. These are smaller pieces where you have to take care of taxation, take care of treasury, take care of your financial planning and reporting and all. So these 3 buckets is what we realized. And that was a journey on its own to pick the one which is more prominent, much bigger, harder to solve for, and we found a way to that, looking a lot outside the world, within India, other players and all, to narrow down on payables. It's on its own, it's a journey, it's a story on its own then. But that is what had happened. And that is when we narrowed down, okay, this is the bucket we want to solve for. Obviously you can't solve for all. So we picked that bucket, and in that bucket, then we figured out what is the pain, where's the pain. And then we realized that then existing customers. So let's talk about, let's say, Pratik, for example also. It's a digital business, plus it has multiple other entities also which are not directly digital also, like they have Westland books and all those things. And what happens is they would consume invoices across different channels. Someone would send it over mail, someone would send maybe over WhatsApp, and then within finance team, data entry folk or someone will pick those invoices, try to digitize it over an Excel sheet. Okay, this is the invoice number, this is the vendor, this is an expense, this is a TDS, all happening manually.
So it's all manual.
All manual. And once this is done, that is when you will move, let's say, for an approval or so, or email, like if someone seeing their manager, seeing the finance team, people literally writing approve on email. I think it happens across every company. Everyone can relate to it. It's so common. It's so common across that. And then whatever ERP you're using, you'll put an entry to it. That's called expense booking.
And that's also manual, going into
That's obviously manual. Either you will do manual entries or it, or you will do a file upload or whatever. And then you would obviously have to pay that. So you will have a bank, maybe you're banking with HDFC, ICICI, whatever. They will have their own payment files of structures of sorts. So you have to create a file now, an Excel sheet, which attunes to the bank portal's format. You will upload it there. Once the payment is done, then you also have to reconcile the open expense entry that you have done in your ERP, that now this is settled.
So in your journey to picking expenses, like focus on expenses and payable, how many of these finance teams or finance ops people did you talk to? Like how many people did you talk to in that?
Sure. So we took a very ground up approach in terms of how many companies are even solving it before directly jumping into the customer. Like for the first instinct is how is it not even solved yet?
Exactly.
It was the major shocker to us. And then we looked into the space. We figured out a lot of players have done an attempt to it, try to solve for it. Then it like why is not adopted yet? Why it's no big player yet? Like just to take a step back and put things in context. So there are 2 kind of payments, if as a whole, whatever we do in a country or so is divided into, let's say, 2 larger buckets. One is called P2P, peer-to-peer payments. Phone Pay, Paytm, Google Pay, all of this is just peer-to-peer payouts.
Correct.
Then there's B2B payments. one vendor paying to another vendor likely over a NEFT, RTGS, and NEFT rails. The P2P payment volume in the country as of date is $3.5 trillion.
Okay.
The B2B payment volume in the country is $9 trillion. Out of that, 7 trillion is digital already.
Correct.
So it's not like I'm talking cash and all. 9 trillion is whole, 7 is already digital.
Right.
Not a significant player on this. And that is where we realized that that the market is there. A lot of people have tented. And we dig more into first why people are not adopting those products.
Right.
Why this company is not adopting. And that is when we started realizing the gaps and all. Yeah.
So you had a first early version that would help automate these payments, move people off expense. Like what would it exactly do for that user who's sitting on the expense team, sitting and digitizing everything? What would that first version of the product do that you had built?
So what the very first product what we used to do was basically being the single center for all the invoices that come into the business, and we started digitizing it. So we had started using some models. There were a lot of OCA models. There were a lot of IDP models on the market. We had picked up, fine-tuned it to Indian invoices or whatever, and started digitizing those first. So that was the first alpha aha moment for the user. Okay, I don't have to do it manually.
And and let's say the first 5 users or companies you went to, what did you tell them that you're going to do for them? Like what were the exact words you used?
So obviously it was not that clearer that is today. So we used to tell them that we can save you a lot of hours in general. You don't have to do manual entries. We can digitize those invoices and all. We used to say them this can be a single platform for all your invoices. That itself is a challenge, by the way.
And they got excited by this? Or
in some way or form. It comes with a lot of like it has been there. People have been doing it for so many years. So it's not an instant hit.
Exactly. But just to give folks context, because I know you have now in the hundreds of companies using you, so there was strong pull. There's product market fit there. But back then, even with the unclear iteration, it seemed like people were sort of adopting it. And did you sort of figure out what was it? Was it the automation of the invoices? Was it the hours really? Or was it the manual entry into Tally? Like what were people getting excited about? Even when they tried it?
Sure. At the very get-go, it was pure just stitching together the first version where we were digitizing the invoice itself. People were getting excited about. Because we are coming from a flow or a workflow that's completely manual. The benchmark is low. The bar is low to excite a user. So obviously we started with that and we triggered that. And then we moved to a lot of compliance pieces also. So when you're, like say again, like I said, a P2P payment or a B2B payment is a very large difference. When you're paying as a business, you are accountable to your shareholders, your investors, and all those things. And you have to be very sure like who you're paying to. And there are a lot of compliances to it. So businesses have to do a GST verification, a PAN verification, ban interoperability, because I'm not transacting you 500 rupees. I'm likely transacting you 5 lakh or a 5 crore or 50 lakh. Exactly. Sizable amount. I have to be double sure, triple sure on the bank details are correct and all. So those are the things that we built and people
and they were just managing with the manual Excel even. So how did you get your first 10 customers? What did you do to get your first 10 customers?
Sure. So I think the first few, which obviously, I would say the first few were pure network first.
Okay. Like you just went to people you knew?
Went to people I knew, like my companies I knew, the founders I knew, someone I cold outbound or reached out because he was an ex-senior. Like we have come, like after Pratilipi we knew, chalo ki the space is same and on content and all. So we reached out to Vinay Stage. He's a super senior from my college and ex. So obviously was very supportive, like let's try this out and all. So a lot of those first few, and for a product like ours it's even much more important. I'm talking money, I'm talking we are accounting core system of records to be connected, I'm talking connecting banks and all. So it has to be pushed through or catalyzed by someone you already know.
Correct.
So and that has to happen, and that is where we got our first.
So when people know us, they'll definitely give it a shot or look at it or have their teams look at it. But then when the first 5 or 10 people started tasting the product, when did you know that okay, we're sort of on to something? Or what were those tweaks or in the first 10 customers?
Yeah.
Or was it super clear? Was it Boolean that, if we just keep digitizing it, they'll be fine? And then I'm going to come to pricing in a second.
Sure. So first of all, I'll tell you one thing. Finance teams are hard to impress
Yes.
in general, because the
Yes.
completeness of work is much more important than the work itself. Like
Ah,
if finance is one of those areas, either you're 100%, you're nothing.
correct.
I cannot have a 90% ready MIS.
Right. So it's not the efficiency they're buying for
Yeah.
the hours. It's
Yeah.
more like a more reliable way of doing
Exactly.
this.
We are talking money, you're talking corporate finance and all, like the bar is high on that.
Yeah.
Like what a good impression looks like, what a viable product looks like.
Yeah.
So it's just not a mere MVP or a mere feature that's going to take you for a win.
Yeah.
You have to do a lot of infra groundwork at the beginning, and that is what we were doing.
Yeah.
We were engaging with those set of customers, design partners, building it together.
Yeah.
So like one of the major breakthroughs, like where we knew it's a hit, was actually when we solved for an integration on top of an ERP like Tally, which
Tally,
is widely available.
yeah, you told me this. So that was the
Yeah.
magic moment
Yeah.
that it used to automatically appear in
Yes.
Tally, the work they were doing on the Pazy platform.
Exactly.
And that used to be itself a very tedious task.
Exactly.
To create the digital GST invoices and
Yeah.
have it all reflect in
Exactly.
Tally.
I think one of the benchmarks we also used to follow, which was much more internal, not very quantified or so, like if the tolerance of the customer is not increasing every going month, you are doing something wrong.
Yeah.
So if something breaks down, and if the customer is calling you like, this is just wasting my time, this is wasting my time, this is not working out and all, likely you have not crossed the charge.
Yeah.
The moment the moment you like do something so great, like the delta is so big on the value that the tolerance increases. Okay, it's fine, like something has happened, like let me get to it. Toot gaya, let me just even that the customer has that approach now.
Yeah.
And not just as a founder, the customer has that viewpoint, like okay, something like let me just put a ticket or ask the person to fix it. That is when you have crossed the charge. That is a scalable thing. The person is counting on you. We have built something valuable for them, and that is how we knew. And that moment for us was that integration on top of an ERP. Obviously, Tally we started with first. That is the hardest to pull off. It's like for folks who don't know or understand, Tally is the most used ERP in the country, used by almost 80% in the business who are in business. And the hard part and challenge to build on top of it is it's very malleable. It's like Notion.
Sure.
I can create a resume of sort, or I can create a host, a website of sort. I can create a task board or sort in Notion. Because it's malleable at atomic level. Tally, that's the strength of it. It's very atomic, malleable at atomic level. So you can do whatever you want.
Exactly.
It's very good for the customer, very hard for someone building on top of it. You don't have APIs and all those things. We literally took 3 to 4 months, closely worked with a Tally partner, closely worked with few customers to get this right.
And
everything is worth it.
So I was going to go back to the first 8 weeks or 12 weeks or whatever. For you to get these first 5 or 10 users even to try or build that V1 version, exactly how long did that take?
The first V1 product itself,
V1.
or just convincing someone in general?
I'm guessing both was happening in parallel, or you first had a V1 to take to. How long did that take?
Actually, we took, I wouldn't suggest that path, I would have changed that, but actually we took, we got to the first few customers, we spoke to the market, we got where the gap was. We realized any product in the market was not connecting very well with the ERP. This is where my aha was dropping. So it was a very good to have kind of product what the market was giving. Not great to have.
The Tally integration, which took 3 months, seems
this is
to
what
have
we
been
narrowed down. This is where the magic is going to lie. And that when we knew, or we had that intuition with our own understanding of the market and the players and all, that is when actually we took the pause. We started onboarding any new partners. We just thought if we want to scale it, we have to crack this. There's no other way we'll be able to create any value. So we literally took a pause for 3, 4, 5 months. We were not onboarding, engaging with any customer.
But that seems to have paid off, right?
Because it paid off. It just slowed me a bit on this. Like we went too conservative, like you're literally me, my co-founder Divyanshu building it out, and there's no one that, so maybe I could have crunched that time from 5 months to 1 month or 2 months, maybe with more hands on deck, or I would have crunched that time with maybe in parallel doing something else or speaking with and all those things. But so not a regret, but I think it could have been much more efficient. That's it.
Sure, fair enough. Okay, so you had customer interviews, you had the tally realization, and you executed that for 3-4 months. Then, what did you rely on? Like, did you go outbound, inbound sales? You had, even with that early messaging, even with the early product, did you have Google AdWords running? What did you try?
So now this is the interesting part. Professionally, I don't have a lot of B2B experience also.
Sure.
I have been with B2C. My first job was at Insta also, which is a job portal based out of Delhi. Great experience, but for them, everything was inbound motion. So it was just, they had enough value, enough word of mouth created for them. It's much harder to create when you're doing 0 to 1 for a product like ours. So it was more of a blank canvas for us. One of the hardest thing that we have been solving at that time. Product was easy, comes naturally to us. Problem was complex with Tally and all, but it was easy still. We knew how to build softwares and all. We have seen that. So this was more of a journey. And it took another good 4, 5, 6 months to get it solved, frankly. For the first few months, we literally used to celebrate even if we get used like 5 demos a month or 10 demos a month. Like it is a milestone.
And where were those 5 demos coming from?
We did anything and everything to do that. Literally anything and everything. I have to step a lot out of my comfort zone to do that.
So outbound emails, LinkedIn
messaging, primarily reaching out to controllers, finance folks, reaching out, looking out for a lot of, we had put out certain signals and search bars like anyone is looking for a tool like this or anyone. So LinkedIn has been good because people, finance folks, a lot of this Tally as a tool is a skill set for them. So they used to put that as a skill. So we used to use SalesNav to filter that out, reach out to those folks, say we have something interesting built out, would you want to try? Specifically, we also choose startup folks in the beginning. They're much more.
And what was the conversion on those messages? Like 1 in how many used to say, yes, I want to talk?
Surprisingly, a lot of people would come on chat for sure. They are very helpful, specifically like who you are targeting. So we by design we're targeting startups. So I think the ecosystem itself has matured so much that people want to support. People want to know what you're building. People want to be part of a journey because so many good examples. It's like lot of thanks to all previous founders, entrepreneurs in the country that it's easier for us, and that is what has happened. So if we reach out to let's say 10 folks or so, 6 or 7 would like give me a time at least, like I'm okay to chat. And that is what the messaging was. It was not pure sales and all. It was just like we have built something out, we think it's interesting, would love to have feedback from
Amazing.
And that is what we had done. And few names I would like to touch base on. There's a customers, a huge shout out to them. Ankit Goel, who has been a controller and is still with Frio Money Tap is a company. Excellent person. He was with Slice before, Neo before, so knew his thing and lot of guidance on us. Sprinto Naga, who is a finance lead there, has been, we did cold retorting. The moment he joined, like cold retorting, we joined a new company, why not look at it as and all. A lot of those folks, the early folks who unknown customers, no connections to them. We reached out, they got on call with us, they were okay to start as a design partner and have been with us till then.
That's phenomenal. And how did the 5 demos a month go to, let's say, 25 demos a month? What else you had to turn on?
So then we started putting more efforts on, obviously it's like given, like we understood now what the business is. We understood like there's a cycle. We understood, okay, this is the ICP. Then there's a lot of knowledge available in the market. This is now moving from like art to process or a system kind of a way. So we had a lot of good knowledge or information available or content available for us to lean on, and that is what we did. So we figured out there's channel partners like which ERP providers work with. So Tally channel partner is a huge network of like 2-3 lakh partners across the country.
Oh, wow.
And it's a huge network to tap onto, and we tap into the channel partner who we had designed our integration with. This is the integration, and they were also excited ki what they have built, what they saw getting built out, and like let me actually get you a customer on this.
Yeah.
So actually my first paying customer of sorts, this was design partners, my first paying customer of sorts came from a channel partner, and that too who had built this out for us.
Amazing.
So that is where we started tapping, and we started tapping for more demos with them.
Right.
So that's number one. Second, we had experience running performance marketing ads at my previous company, Pratik, so consumer first business. So we lean on to that strength and skill set. Ki let's target. There obviously would be people looking out for solutions like this. Might be different wordings or so, but they will be looking out. And so we started with LinkedIn ads. It has a lot of core filters, skill set, and all. So we started leaning on that. Then instead of investing a lot into full-fledged marketing agency or marketing team or so, we actually leaned on to work with marketing agencies. So we worked with someone who has done this before at a Series A company or Series B company just above us and all. So to help us shape up the base infra and all those things.
Marketing agencies for ads specifically.
For ads specifically.
Right? And how did that work out? Was the agency useful in teaching you how to run
100%. A lot of things. So you just fast track a lot of mistakes we would have done because we don't come from like strong SaaS background or so. So they brought that knowledge to us, and our day within maybe week or so, they were just like up and running. Our calendars were starting to fill out a little more and all. So it was like good compressed learning or experimentation for us, which could have taken us maybe 6 months or so. It just got synced.
Got it. Now I know you have two different business models. You have the software subscription annually, and then you have you also have you're doing cards and working capitals. I want to right now today only focus on the software subscription because that was your early reality, right? So
even a reality today.
Of course, very strong reality today. But what did you? How did you know what was the right price? Was it just experimenting? Like pricing can always be a black magic. I know from all the 8 years of my SaaS company, Box, I always felt we were pricing it wrong. And then we thought we had something right, and a few months later I thought it was wrong. And so very early after you got those 10 people, after you experimented with the Tally channel partners, how did you decide how much to price it at?
Sure. So again, it was more of a journey, but we gone ahead with much more instinctive behavior. Plus, I love numbers, crunching and all. So naturally, I just started putting up different numbers. We started reading about what's the market and how people do. One of the great things I discovered at that point was someone, and that's irrespective of Pazy itself, is pure SaaS software as a business anyone is building. It's a very good way to look at it. Someone put it out that a business usually spend 2% of their revenue on softwares. That is maybe a evolved heuristic that has happened. It's not backward of people start with a 2% budget.
Correct.
It's just backwards of what is happening in the market as a benchmark.
Correct.
And that's a very good way to look at it. So if I'm looking at it, then the 2% is like across software. So I'm not talking about one software. Your ERP, your CRM, your payroll, anything and everything sits in that budget.
Correct.
So in the 2%, 2.5% budget, and you have to be a pie of that. And surprisingly, and within India, there's not a lot of penetration has still happened. The ERP is one of the most penetrated products in the market. Then you have HR tools, and then we started looking at what they are pricing. And they started picking up, okay, this is the price that people are okay to. This is the most penetrated products, ERPs and HR tool. Anything else will be just 10-20% or option or so. ERPs at maybe 80-90%, HR tools are at 70%, as of what my understanding has been. So that was number one, how people will it much more top-down type of a view. Okay, this is how wallet share might move and all. Second was more ground up. So let's say what's the core I'm solving for them. So at the very obviously the first beginning of when we started the product, it was pure efficiency. Manual work goes away, invoice digitization, entry to ERP goes away, direct syncing to ERP, payment files creation also goes away, one click upload and all. So I just have to look what they were paying to someone in their team for just data entry. That's the lowest they were paying, not the maximum, the lowest they were paying. That's your floor. This is what you can price for sure.
Correct.
And that is what we did. We realized that a normal data entry focus is getting paid about 10-15K a month in India, and that is where if my invoices as a company moves from 100 invoices to 200 invoices, I have to go and do another hiring. It moves from 200 to 500. Likely, it will not do double hiring. I have to increase my headcount to 5 from 2 directly.
Correct.
Because every invoice is like tens of steps and all.
Yeah.
So those are the things and pieces that we picked up and we figured out.
Very specific.
Yeah, it's very specific, top down to bottom up. So we spend a lot of work on this. Actually, we were literally blank because not a lot of software companies within India, which is at a high scale that you can learn from.
Correct.
And US pricing and all is like user per seat that doesn't work. Exactly. So a lot of those learnings we had, we took a call. No per seat pricing has to be straightforward, clear to them. And that is what we started pricing a product for. Like some 10K, 15K, what the data folk were giving.
Exactly.
Eventually, actually, what happened was we had started increasing that pricing. So, and what we today where we sit, and what the company pays their ERP provider, those same companies are paying us 5 to 10x for a payable solution.
That is crazy.
That's pure on value. So because we were able to realize that value and they were able to realize that value, and that's literally it.
And by the way, also to point out that there is tons of information on selling to the US, but this is India-to-India SaaS. So to get mid-market and enterprise companies to, pay that much is obviously a new data point for a lot of people, because conventional wisdom is that nobody will pay here. So let's try the product out here, but let's sell the bulk of the product in the US. So super good data points for people listening in on India-to-India SaaS. If you had to go back to the first 3 months again, and of course we talked about the customer interviews, the Tally integration, etc. But where would you say you got stuck and how did you get unstuck?
Obviously. So just for context, like so the moment we had that first view of the problem statement, the product was easy. Like I said, that I very specifically compartmentalized this in two things: product and problem, and business separately.
Correct.
So product problem, much easier to see. Mostly it's very easy to sort out for. But on the business side, I still had my skepticism. Obviously, Indian SaaS is always a thing.
They won't pay.
They won't pay. The market is not large enough, and a lot of things and all. I invest a good amount of time before even like putting a single line of code, or even before narrowing out onto payables. Actually, payables is not what we started out for. Actually, we were thinking more on treasury and all those things. But before even deciding narrowing out onto payables, we spent a lot of time just to understand the CFO stack of Indian businesses, TAM, and all those things. And one of the principles, or a good, I wouldn't say principle, it's a framework of sorts that people follow, and it's a good framework. So value creation versus value capture. So value creation is a different ball game, and value capture is a different ball game. When you're trying to do a PMF, a problem product fit, basically you are solving for value creation.
Correct.
That's it.
Yes.
It does not guarantee value capture will happen. Most cases it might happen. Some cases, and most cases also, it might not be linear. You might create a hell lot of value, but might capture a very tiny piece. Like WhatsApp is a good example. Everyday tool, everyone uses it. Value creation is insane. But the value capture is very tiny, near zero. Obviously it's there with API, business API and all, but it's not significant or proportional to the value created. So you have to be very, very clear where the value capture is going to lie. And that is what we sought out for. We started looking different models, possibilities, what can happen and all, and we narrowed down to certain areas which gave us enough confidence that we will be able to accrue value from it. And that is how
actually that's an excellent point, because on the surface level it seems like you picked the problem based on a lived experience that you had at Pratilipi, but you were actually very deliberate about what you pick across these three finance streams, not treasury and why payable, how you will solve it, like what were the challenges with sales tax and India and Tally, etc. So this is an excellent early point, because a lot of people at 0 to 1 or even -0, either it's a lived experience and that convinces us cognitively that this is the problem you want to go after, and then getting unmarried to it can be pretty hard. But it seemed like you
Yeah.
You were, of course, passionate about the problem, but you chose to get the evidence
100%.
before you even started writing
And
code.
I to did actually before even the first draft happens or so. So before even you discover the problem or so. So there's a duration as a founder where from you know that you want to, you're ready in some form or way to do something of your own or whatever. But it multiple ways to skin a cat. Multiple founders can have different kind of aspirations or motivations to what to do. It was much more clearer to me that at some point I will start. Before even I joined Pratik day one, so Ranjit CEO there literally does a 30-minute one-on-one with everyone who joins the company.
Yeah.
And literally, like, even if you're intern or whatever, it doesn't matter, you get 30 minutes with him. And this is where he will just like try to understand your motivation, aspirations, so he can enable the company to work for you in a way.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
brilliantly done. I appreciate it more now
Yeah.
than then. But at the very get-go of that, it was very clear. I communicated it very well to him. At some point, I want to start my own thing. That's why I'm here. I want to learn everything and anything that takes to build a business.
Yeah.
That's why I got position to like work in CEO's office, work on a lot of data room creation and all, and a lot of experiences that are
Yeah.
not linear or obvious
Yeah.
to folks, because I had communicated it.
Yeah.
And that is why he enabled me to do a lot of things
Yeah.
that I wanted to do. And that is what has happened. So I was very, as a founder also, you're very conscious. Different founders, different strengths. Me and Divyanshu as a founder are very conscious founders. We are more deliberate, we are calculative, we want to take, because we are sure if we are in for 10-15 years.
Correct.
We want to be double sure. We don't want to take a U-turns, we don't want to like let down and all. So we think through a lot of permutation combinations on what will happen, what will not happen, good case, best case, a lot. Not putting into numbers and all, like, not that's waste of time because you have nothing. So there's no point of putting a lot of projections and all.
Yeah.
Just share that this is a problem, this is what we solve is going to enable us. If we don't solve this, a lot of things will not happen in future. So de-risking in a way also, and that is what we follow. So we were very clear on how we want to approach this thing and all. Yeah.
That's phenomenal. And by the way, your Ranjit Pratilipi experience, it's not surprising that so many founders come out of Pratilipi, by the way.
I think
we know of like 4 or 5.
Yeah, obviously it's more than that. That people have. I think it's just pure share culture, the way people get enabled. I joined as a product analyst intern, by the way, at Pratilipi. And at one point I was taking care of core experiences. Shelly there, who has been the other co-founder of Pratilipi, literally mentored me 2 years head down on product building. I didn't even know. In B2C is very common words like D1 retention and all that. I didn't even know the word. So like literally from there to taking care of the core business retention and all, at some point retention, engagement and all. So phenomenal experience, and that is also where I understand like multiple responsibility taking, business building and all those things. Yeah.
Amazing. How large is the team at Pazy right now? Because you guys obviously also learned hiring on the fly. How large is the team?
We are about 28-30 members now, combined everything.
30. And last question, if we had to go back to day 0, and I know you would have done a few things differently. You were saying about parallelization, even though I think that Tally integration point was an important insight. But if you had to go back to day 0, what is the one thing you would do differently?
For business to a different scale, I think, like I said, on the core thing, instead of being conservative or calculative, a little more aggressive. That's it. I would say just little more aggressive. The moment you know things are working out, the moment you know the problem, just attacking to it and solving for it. That's what I would say. If I would have been more aggressive at some places, that is the only thing I will change.
Perfect. But anyway, I'm very excited for you and Pazy, and thanks for doing this with me.
Anytime.
Thanks a lot.